Temba and Zotwa were daydreaming about what they would do if they won the lottery. Zotwa started, I would hire myself a cook so that I could just say, hey, make me a sandwich. Temba shook his head and said, not me. I already have one of those. I don't like unfinished business, folks. I'm the kind of guy who finishes what he starts, even if it's quick, if you catch my drift. And so tonight, it's time to finish what we started with Dr. T. We are live on Facebook and Instagram as Talk with Rams. Unfortunately, tonight we are not live on YouTube until we fix our connectivity there. So we'll be off YouTube, but we'll always post a link there when we're done. Thank you for choosing us, and thank you for joining us. This remains the most powerful 30 minutes of digital content. We shall continue to give you that one until you're ready for powerful 2 hours of content. So good evening and welcome to Motivation Monday on Talk with Rams Live for part 2 of the power of positive habits with our resident development coach, Dr. Tando Sibanda. But what is your experience? Do you have good habits? What bad habits are hindering your progress and success? We'd like to know your own stories, the good, the bad, the ugly. So comment on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or send WhatsApp voice note on 067 271 8239. So let's get this train on the rails. Good evening, Dr. T.
Good evening, my brother Rams. How are you doing, man?
I am dark and lovely. Thank you for asking. How are you, Dr. T?
I'm excited, man. I'm ready to go. I've been looking forward to this the whole week, man.
Yeah, I was looking forward to something over the weekend, Dr. T, but our people failed me. They just failed me.
Yeah, I know. We can't stop preaching the gospel of personal development. It still remains that the best investment anyone can put is into themselves, and I don't mean drinking alcohol. No, I mean investing in your brain.
You don't mean liquid assets.
Yeah, I don't. No, I'm not talking about liquid. But no, it is good. I trust that our viewers are gonna come around, and they will take the time and they will make the investment back into themselves. You never lose whatever you invest in yourself. It's one thing that will always be a part of you.
And you take it with you. No, you can't even leave it for somebody else.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I was just talking today, Rams, about this old man who was sick, and he got so sick, and he had a tree, these cactus trees, and he would come out of his house and sit under the tree when the pain was too much until he died. And his son came and did research on what killed his father and realized that the cactus tree that he was sitting under, all he had to do was to take one of the leaves and boil them and drink. It was going to cure him. So a lot of times we die because of the knowledge gap. One of the Hebrew scripts says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. There is just no knowledge. And all we need to do is to stretch and grab it. Even when it is being brought on a platform like this, it is the responsibility of the people to reach out and take advantage of the knowledge. Believe me, it would be sad if a lot of us who've been sitting on this show are defeated in life by things that we've dealt with the answers here, and by things where we have made tools available so that people could connect to the tools and get help. So we are miles wide but an inch deep. That's a challenge we have in Africa.
We shall get there, Dr. T. We shall get there. So let's recap on our conversation last week, the power of positive habits. But let's start again with the definition, Dr. T. Habit. Every time we hear of the word habit, we think negatively. We think addiction. We think bad things. People even just say, hey, this one has a habit. because habit is associated with bad stuff.
I think that's a very powerful way of looking at it. In fact, habit does not necessarily mean good or bad. Habit, it simply speaks of a settled tendency. It speaks of a usual manner of behavior. It speaks of an acquired mode that has become nearly or completely involuntary. That's the whole concept. So a habit can be good, a habit can be bad, but we've got to understand that human character, when we speak of someone's character, it's a composition of concentrated habits. Habits create character. If you have a habit of laziness, you end up becoming a lazy person. If you have a habit of always being quick and responding to things, you develop a character that is consistent with that type of energy. So habits are these little bite-sized outputs of the internal programming that we have that happens through repeated action. If you read a lot, you make a habit of reading, and that has got certain outcomes in your life. I said last week, Rams, that your vision is driven by your imagination, but your outcomes are driven by your habits. So you can literally see what outcome you will get in spite of a compelling great vision. Your outcome comes down to the lowest common denominator of your actions, which is your habits.
It is as simple as that.
It's as simple as that. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I can even break it further for our people, Rams, and say habit formation, in fact, is the process by which a behavior through regular repetition becomes automatic or habitual. There are three components to habit formation. There is what is called the context or the cue, then there is the behavioral repetition, and then the reward. So the psychology of a habit says within the context of its behavioral plane, there is always a cue, which is the context, which is the supporting framework. Then there is the repeated action itself, and then there is the reward. There is the serotonin, there is the dopamine that is released, that then creates a good feeling that goes with the habit. You see, that is why it's so powerful. It's so powerful.
Wow. We also spoke about two ethics, Dr. T, that were very important in habit formation, the character ethic versus the personality ethic. Please help me catch up on that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. The character ethic looks at the core foundations of success, being values like things like integrity, humility, fidelity, temperance, courage, justice, patience. It's those core foundational values that we used to teach. Remember, we used to say charity begins at home,
Yes.
and then we were speaking of very solid character traits that then become the whole character ethic from which then you can build certain habits based on these good values of industry, modesty, the golden rule, and then that's the character side. But the personality ethic is something really that has become more of a PR, where habits are built based on public image. It's a function of personality, attitudes, behaviors, skills, techniques that lubricate the process of human interaction. So the personality ethic, the challenge with it is that it's got no solid foundation to it, because it's really more about PR and painting a certain a picture before people. So we say fake it till you make it type stuff, but we are not looking at generating good habits based on the character ethic. We move on the basis of personality ethic. And that's why people change with the situation. You don't know the person that you are dealing with. Why? Because the situation changes. Once you introduce a variable, once money is introduced as a variable, where loyalty goes out of the window. Those are people that have created habits based on personality and not necessarily on character.
Wow. So personality is really fluff. As you say, it's PR.
Oh yeah, Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Personality is simply the impression that I want you to have of me. And remember, as a behavioral scientist, I will tell you that there's always two people. There is the rams that we see, and then there's the rams that you are working on. You see, we need to see the rams that you are working on, not the rams that you want us to see, because those are two different rams. The rams that you want us to see has been given some mascara, has been put 3, 4, 5 foundations, that rams has got flowing hair, but it's very different from the rams that then takes everything off at night, and that's always the struggle in terms of just behavioral dynamics, and so I think when people give you themselves based on character, based on solid character, you are able to build solidly because you know who you are dealing with. Personality, on the other hand, they are driven by the temperature of the day. That's the challenge.
Wow. So, Dr. T, let's get then down to where we stopped last week. The five,
Absolutely.
the five. Well, when I spoke to you, you had said to me we are going to speak about 4 of them, but I know you with every time moves on, you also add some stuff into stuff. I have no problem with that. So let's deal with the 5 positive habits then, Dr. T.
No, thank you so much, Rams. I think this is very important for our viewers to understand that we are simply giving them just cues to start from. This is called a strategy. It's a relational strategy. Remember, everything Rams takes a strategy. You want to cook a meal, there's a strategy, for pasta. Pap is not a part of the strategy. There's a strategy for bacon and eggs, roasted lamb is not a part of that strategy. So what we are doing here is that we want to give our viewers a strategy, just somewhere to start from as they are building habits. Because remember, success leaves clues and success is transferable. Success is repeatable, it's duplicable. So it's very important that what we share here, our viewers must take into other dimensions of their life so that they can have sustained success. I think that is what drives our motives in terms of this process. So these positive habits, I'm going to start with the first one, and it sounds simple, but it's a word that is not being mentioned a lot. The habit of proactiveness, and Henry David Thoreau says, I don't know of any more encouraging fact than the unquestionable ability of man to elevate his life by conscious endeavor. Conscious endeavor is where you become proactive, where you take initiative and say, for something to change, I need to rise up. I need to get up. I know the word proactivity is not commonly found in literature today, but proactivity, this habit of being proactive, taking initiative, is based on the principle. Remember, I said the habit must have a supporting framework. The supporting framework for a proactive person is the concept of responsibility. If you look at that word, responsibility is the 2 words, response and ability. So someone must take responsibility, and the highly proactive people have a high level of response ability. They can respond, they can initiate their self-starters. A lot of us would love Rams to become millionaires. A lot of us would love to be successful, but uzoitola kanjani uhlele koneni, we sit there and then wish for success and expect success, but we have no initiative. We can't lift ourselves up and say, let me do something, let me try something, let me move forward. That is why people who take initiative become the biggest winners, because they have this responsibility that moves them into action. They don't blame circumstances, conditions, or conditioning for their behavior. No, their behavior is a result of a conscious choice which is based on values rather than rather than a product of conditioning which is based on feeling. So Proactivity is key. You want to be successful, have a habit of being a self-starter. Be a self-starter. Some things, your feelings mustn't even come into it. You know, if you wake up and you know you've got to wake up and go gym, like what Tony Robbins says. Tony Robbins says, once my soul has said it, my feelings have no place in it. Like he says, I wake up and I go, I've got to go jump. You know, he does these things where he jumps into this ice pool, you know, because it just invigorates, you know, his neurons. He's like, I don't even think, is the water cold or not? Once my mind says, this is what we're doing, I jump into it. I don't even think twice or think thrice about it because I've done the research. It works for me. So I don't give feelings an opportunity. But our problem, Rams, our songs, everything is about feelings. We've got tonight, who needs tomorrow? Live for the moment type stuff. You know, we are so flaky. And that's why we can't go anywhere because we base everything on feelings. And so we make wrong decisions because we're basing everything on feelings.
And the biggest feeling, Dr. T, that I find impacts our proactivity and responsibility is fear.
Oh,
we then
absolutely.
fear to fail, and then we don't act because we're so scared of failure.
Oh, absolutely. But you see, successful people, the first thing they embrace is fear. They embrace their fear. And so, rather you fail forward than not try at all. And you're absolutely correct. You see, people who are reactive, their response ability is very limited because it's always checked by the amygdala, you know. There's that whole fear concept. Are you sure of what you want to do? What if I fail? What if people say this and say that? And so we never start. And you lose 100% of the battles you never start, you never fight, you never participate in. And so it's important for our people to become proactive. Proactivity will save you a lot of challenges, even health-wise. They say if you don't make time for your health, you will have to make time for your sickness. So what does that say? It says be proactive, be a self-starter. Don't always be the laggard. Don't be the runt of the litter. Become somebody who pushes themselves, and you already have made up your mind that when it is something that is supporting my dreams, my goals, and my values, I am a self-starter. That's what it is.
So the habit of self-leadership, let's talk about that one.
All right. Before I go there, let me ask our viewers a question that I think they can probably even answer on the chat there. Are you someone who takes initiative or are you someone who reacts? I think that's very important because you need to be able to subordinate your impulses to your values. So self-starters take initiative, and those who struggle with responsibility become reactive. Are you, as you are listening and watching us tonight, are you reactive or are you proactive? I think that's a very good litmus test for someone to see where they are. Right. The second habit speaks of the concept of self-leadership. Now, Rams, this is very important. You know, I was actually having a conversation at the office today about the concept of leading. You know, I believe that leaders are not so much born as they are made, because situations make leaders. But the office or the position of leading is what is called the leadership. It's the capacity to lead, the act or instance of leading. But you can't lead others if you can't lead yourself. So here we've got a very powerful habit, Rams, if it is done well, because it speaks of two things. It speaks of self-awareness and it speaks of self-efficacy, right? What is self-awareness? Self-awareness is where you know you are aware of yourself in terms of how you occupy your space. To lead, you must be self-aware. You know yourself, you know your strengths, you know what you bring to the table. You know, that's very important. And self-efficacy speaks of your capabilities. It speaks of the capacity to create a lead room for yourself. So self-leadership is where you create space for yourself to walk into. You don't wait for external stimuli. No, you know your values. You don't fumble when there's no one to lead. You're able to step in and you self-generate good ideas, and you can lead others because you know how to lead yourself well. They say captains, people who are normally chosen to become captains are people who can lead themselves well. You must always be conscious of yourself. Don't speak before you think. Be conscious of yourself. Don't do certain things before you think them through. Be conscious of yourself. Be conscious of your words. Be conscious of what you say. Some people will hide behind fact. No, I talk too much. I talk too much. So they say things, right, that totally disenfranchise them in the eyes of others, but they hide behind saying, I just talk too much. I mean, I talk nonsense. Okay. Why don't you stop talking nonsense? Some people are proud of the fact that they talk nonsense. You see, that's very poor self-awareness. It's a sign of poor self-awareness. Because self-awareness means you be in control of yourself, your whole faculty, and know what your capabilities are. So that when you don't have capability, you can step back and read the situation, and then you can move into it yourself. How well do you lead yourself? How well do you do it?
Okay. The third one, Dr. T.
Right. The third one. Oh, this one is a big one. The habit of destination thinking. Some people call it big picture thinking. This talks about beginning with the end in mind. This is a very powerful habit, Rams, because it helps people think things through before they begin. Believe me, I am one big advocate that is the anti-establishment, especially in the way people say we will cross that bridge when we get there. And the challenge with our people, we are very poor scenario planners. Someone who tells you they will cross the bridge when they get there means they don't do scenario planning in their heads. And so we all get stuck together because nobody bothered to think things through. You see, so have a habit of destination thinking where you are thinking, okay, let's fast forward to the end. Nelson Mandela called it creating a memory of the future, where you literally stand in the future and determine the memory that Rams should be known for. If you go into your phone right now and you go into your calendar, there is already, right? There is already, what's our date today? October 26, 2021. Yeah. Right, it's existing. I actually looked it up. I said, my God, this is telling me that I won't be there. There is no way. I mean, I'm already in my 40s. There's no way I'm going to live for another 100 years. Yeah. But October 26, 2021 is going to happen. It's there in my calendar. My question is, how do I want to be remembered when that day comes and the light of history is shone back on this glorious day in which we live? What shall be said of Dr. Thando Sibanda? What shall be said of Rams Mabote, of Frederick Mabitsela? What shall be said? So I've got to have destination thinking in what I plan to do with my life. Do I want to be known as that guy that sang at every place, or that smoked at every place, or that failed at every? How do I want to be known? See, people don't think and actually take themselves and teleport themselves into the future and say, what is my imbali yami yini? What is my history? How will I be known? One of the things I do in terms of destination thinking, Rams, when I run workshops, the first thing, I make everybody write their own obituary. First thing, you come into my workshop, you get a pen and paper. I say, write your own obituary. You are writing about yourself. You are standing at your own funeral and you are saying, this was so and so. It's very interesting what people say.
One coach of mine once said, not every, there's always this thing about reaching the top. And he said to me, not every ladder will take you to the top.
Oh,
So if you
absolutely.
have not determined the top that you want, you will get onto the wrong ladder.
Oh, absolutely. You see, there's a deep, it's easy to get caught up in the activity trap, in the busyness of life. I call it the tyranny of the agent, where we work harder and we work, more vigorously at climbing the ladder, only to discover that it's leaning against the wrong wall. You're like, oh my God, this is actually not the wall I wanted to climb, but you've spent some years climbing the ladder that's leaning against the wrong side of the wall. So people can be very busy without being very effective. So that's one of the things where destination thinking says, where do I want to go and what is the optimum route to get there? Same way a GPS works. A GPS can never show you the route unless, number one, you know where you want to go, and two, you know where you are. Those two, through the process of triangulation, it will then give you the optimal route to where you need to go. Our people need to have a habit of destination thinking. Before you embark on something, how are you thinking it through? How many of us studied something at university only to find out after graduation, this is actually not what I want to do with my life?
Okay, Dr. T, let's move on to the habit of thinking relationally.
Ah, yes. In fact, the habit of thinking relationally is based on the premise of relating, right? Relating, kinship, right? Constituted by relating one to another. Now, it's important for us to always contextualize ourselves as part of a collective identity. And that's the collective identity is the paradigm behind this habit. We call it Ubuntu. We must always think of what our actions are going to, what the implications of our actions are on others. How are we thinking of others? Some say, you must always think others before yourself. And we have to cultivate that as a key habit, because we have always, or rather not even that we have always, if you look at the 21st century, it is characterized by selfishness. So selfishness means you are selfish. You are so focused on a concept of yourself that you are prepared to actually mess up others as long as you meet your own needs. Great people, great leaders are servants, and you can never serve unless you understand the concept of thinking relationally. The habit, make it a habit of thinking team, thinking relationally. Together, everybody achieves more. That's what team, the acronym, means according to my dictionary. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. What if we had a habit of thinking team before we thought individual? We would have less crime. Because for me to go and break into your house, I need to think about the fact that what will the impact of my actions have on you? If I come and steal all your stuff, if I come and mess up and shoot someone in the process, you see, we never think of others. We always think of ourselves. Great leaders, whether it was a Martin Luther King Jr., whether it was a Mother Teresa, whether it was a Malcolm X, whether it was a Madiba, the concept of thinking of others before self, they made a habit of that. And so that's why they talk of the collective. When we think, let's think as a collective. That's a powerful habit, my brother. Great leaders, whether you lead an organization, you lead a family, you are leading yourself, always think of yourself in the context of the bigger habitat of mankind.
Okay, you said there's one last one, Dr. T.
Oh, absolutely. Right. This last one, I call it the habit of replacing bad habits with good ones. I call it the habit of neuroplasticity. Right. Neuroplasticity is simply the concept that says that our brain is not hardwired. We are not hardwired. I know.
There's no such thing as hardwired, Dr. T.
No, 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 no. That concept of being hardwired, it's people who never went to school who say that. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's because they don't want to change. People who don't want to change say, no, 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 that's just who I am. That's just how I am. Take it or leave it. No, 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 no. Let us teach you something about how your brain operates. There is something called neuroplasticity. It means you have the capacity to change. Everybody can learn. Old dogs can learn new tricks. Why? Because your behavior comes because of your neural network. You've got 160,000 kilometers of vessels, and you've got 1 billion neurons in your brain. So once a message goes from your brain and it goes to different parts of your body, once you repeat that action, it becomes a habit. So a habit is the result of a well-established neural highway. But here is the point. The moment you stop and you start a new habit and you use that path less and less, it ceases from being a highway into being this little path where you see something was being done, and after a while it totally closes off. And the new habit that you have started becomes then the new neural highway that is now a repeated part of behavior. And guess what? Our brains have the capacity to learn even in old age. Everybody has this capacity to learn new things. You can learn how to use a remote control as old as you are. You can learn how to drive. You can learn. The brain is an amazing muscle that stretches, that it's an organ that stretches, it's an organ that adapts. As long as you have got the self-belief to learn something new, my brother, you can take yourself to new areas. I've seen people at 60 who get their bachelor's degrees. At 60, guess what? They are learning new things. They're learning new things and they are moving forward. We can all learn. Make a habit of replacing old habits with new ones. Make a habit of engaging your neuroplasticity, because you can change. You can establish new neural pathways.
Let's conclude with this question from Emmanuel Trey. Emmanuel says, are there common habits that high performance and successful people have in common? And would unsuccessful people also have common habits?
Oh, absolutely. You see, just in terms of just concluding, successful people have got one habit that they all share: proactivity. The second habit of successful people is good self-leadership. The third habit of successful people, destination, big picture thinking. The fourth habit of successful people is the habit of thinking relationally. They think of others, they develop others. John Maxwell talks about it, the principle of developing others. And successful people don't think they know everything. They allow themselves to learn. They engage neuroplasticity. They don't have this chip on their shoulder that says, I know it all. They allow themselves to learn from others. Unsuccessful people are the opposite of these 5 things we have spoken about tonight.
Okay. And I think I need to add, and unsuccessful people procrastinate.
Oh, absolutely. They procrastinate. They are not self-starters. They think about, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'm going to do this tomorrow. And guess what? What if tomorrow never comes?
Well, I always say it never does, because there's no day called tomorrow.
Yeah. I trust, Rams, that our people will take this strategy that we gave them and go and cook an amazing meal for their lives and start to build from here and become successful people that are able to do great things. And they will be remembered well for what they did.
Wonderful, Dr. T. Great moment to end it at. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, my brother. I trust we're all lifted this evening.
Oh, I am. I can speak for myself, and can't trust the other guy called Freddie, but I hope he's lifted too. But thank you very much, Dr. T, and have a great evening. We shall see you next Monday.
Thank you, and good night to our viewers. Appreciate you guys.
Tomorrow, folks, is Opportunity Tuesday. If you're doing business somewhere in Johannesburg, and most precisely, I would say in Soweto, there is an opportunity that we're going to bring you tomorrow of something happening in Soweto that could be good for your business. you don't want to miss tomorrow's show, but you don't have to be Soweto based. As long as you can reach Soweto by this weekend, there could be something for you. So don't miss it tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. right here on Talk with Rams Live. Thank you, Frederick. Thank you for coming back after the weekend. I didn't trust I would see you again. So the show happened. So clearly you came back. You got the power of coming back. That's good. That's a great habit. So from me, Rams Mawote, good night and God bless.